Man, what the f was that performance today? Now this is literally, see, I'm wearing my old, what is it, the alarm clock jerseys, because this game reminded me of the alarm clock era. A lot of penalties, just a lot of issues all the way around, and I don't know how this Buccaneers team is going to make the playoffs looking the way that they have been looking these last couple of weeks. But before I get into my reaction, I am Rami B. Make sure you click the subscribe button down below. I post weekly Buccaneer reaction videos, so let's get into it. Our Tampa Bay Buccaneers lost to the Atlanta Falcons 16-13. We are averaging now about 17.1 points per game, which is absolutely horrendous considering we revamped the offense with Canales and all that. But let's get into the numbers. So the Bucs had 329 yards of total offense with 256 passing and 73 rushing, and the Falcons had 401 total with 245 passing and 156 rushing. Again, our rush defense compared to 2019 till now Bowles has had 5 years running the defense, 2 years as a head coach. Our rushing defense has slowly, 2019 was, I think, historic. 2020 was pretty much up there too. Very, very slight decrease in effectiveness. 2021 was a little worse, but still top of the league. And then 2022 last year completely fell apart, and then now it's not doing well at all. We had a couple games where our rush defense was really good, but overall it's very bad, and I think it's on par, could potentially be worse than last year. But before I get into kind of the defense, let me get into the offense. So Baker was 27 of 42 for 275 yards, a touchdown and a pick. And that pick came at the most inopportune time. It was a greedy throw. We were driving down, had a chance to take the lead, tie the game with about 3 to 4 minutes left roughly. And I think Mike Evans was open, Rachaad White was open on the check down, and he wanted to get a big chunk play, threw it to a receiver. I forgot who it was, but they were double covered, one on top and one beneath, and he kind of led him too far and overthrew him a little bit and got straight to a pick. Now, frankly, we did get the ball back, and then yeah, we faltered. We were able to get down into the red zone, and as usual, our red zone offense is completely horrendous. You have Mike Evans, who's a jump ball specialist, and we can't get him the ball deep or in the end zone throwing it. Anyways, horrible all season. Our red zone offense has sucked. Run game, again, atrocious. Rachaad White, 13 carries for 34 yards. Baker, 3 for 32, and Vaughn, 4 for 7. When Baker is almost leading the offense in rushing yards, it's horrible. And again, the rushes are not that effective. Runs up the middle, we'll have a couple chunk plays passing, and then we'll run it for, again, effectively no yards, 1 yard. Again, running the ball is essentially a wasted down. Again, I think Rachaad White is horrible, overrated. Keyshawn Vaughn isn't doing much more. Overall, the run game is absolutely atrocious, and we need to figure something out. And then we get into the red zone, and we can, we get into the red zone, and then we start doing, especially at the end of the game when we wanted to take the win, we go into the red zone and we start throwing, 3 passes straight into the end zone, not even trying to get, I think we started at the 10. We weren't even trying to get, 3-4 yards, make it a little easier. It was just 3 straight shots into the end zone. I saw people online on Reddit saying that we should have ran the ball in the red zone, maybe 1 run, like a draw play or something, just to kind of test out the defense. But come on, I mean, it's horrible game planning. You get into the red zone, you have 2 minutes to a minute and some change to score and take the lead, and if you get small completions, a 3-yard completion that runs the clock, forces Atlanta to use a timeout, or they don't use a timeout and you run the clock and you can win the game. But instead we go 3 straight incompletions and then settle for a field goal. They get the ball back with 46 seconds, 47 seconds, 2 or 3 timeouts, and then blown coverage on the other end. Receiving game, Evans had 6 catches for 82 yards and a touchdown, with a beautiful 40-yard touchdown where he just beat his corner. Godwin, 6 for 66 with a very, very important catch and run on our final drive that could have potentially ended the game. Rachaad White, 6 for 65. Again, he was more effective in the passing game. And Cade Otton finally woke up, 5 catches for 43 yards. I don't think the tight ends have played that well overall this season. So again, I want to say the offense has completely underachieved thus far in the season. We're unable to move the ball that well. We can't score. We scored 6 points last week, so we've scored 19 points in 2 games. It's ridiculous, and the defense has held 2 teams to 36 points. A 20-pointer to Detroit, who was averaging almost 30 the last 10-15 games, and then Atlanta holding them to 16. It's unacceptable. And then the penalties on offense, all the false starts, all the holding calls. It was like we regressed to not even knowing, what is a penalty or not. We're just holding everybody, multiple false starts, illegal formations. It's unacceptable. Defensively, Desmond Ridder had 19 completions for 25 yards, 250 yards, and 3 fumbles. So, 2 fumbles that we forced and 1 that he messed up on a snap. Algier, 21 rushes for 59 yards. Cordell Patterson, 10 for 56. And Ritter, 3 for 38 and a touchdown. Should have been a second touchdown, but Winfield punched the ball out right at the goal line, and the ball went out in the end zone. That essentially gave us a shot. It would have been at that point, it was 13-10, would have been 19-10 waiting for an extra point. On the receiving end, Drake London, 6 for 54, Algier, 3 for 53, Pitts, 3 for 47, and then Scotty Miller, 1 for 46. Ridiculous. Our defense has completely regressed this year. The D-line is not getting pressure up front. They're not getting no push. They're getting pushed in the run game. Linebackers, Levante David has been an Iron Man. No complaints about him. He's doing everything he can. Devin White this game was getting sucked into a lot of the fake runs and things like that. And then our secondary completely fell apart. I don't know what happened to Carlton Davis and Jamel Dean. Jamel Dean was so good last year. Carlton Davis has been very consistent, and this year they've sucked. The only secondary player that's playing well is Antoine Winfield. He forced a fumble, like I said, on the goal line. And then another fumble was forced by Shaq Barrett on Desmond Ritter. But Ryan Neal completely, I know what they said last year was like the top graded safety in Seattle. He did play part-time, so maybe that played a role, but on that play that essentially that pass to Kyle Pitts that put him in field goal range to essentially end the game, he took a very bad angle, and then Pitts caught the ball and he was like out of place and just got beat. And then last week against Detroit on a 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12, ball was thrown deep and he was right there. He just had to turn around and put his hand out. It's been unacceptable on the defense. I think Todd Bowles is in over his head now. Horrible time management before the half, deciding to kneel it. I know we had like 16 seconds left, but we had 3 timeouts. We could have thrown a deep ball and maybe seen what we could have gotten, or gotten a 20-yard chunk play and called a timeout. It's very similar to the Cleveland game last year where it's tie game. We had a minute some change and I think two timeouts, and he decided to go to overtime instead of trying to score. And then when we randomly threw a ball, we got like 25, 30 yards and could have potentially been in field goal range had we used timeouts. Horrible game management from Todd Bowles. I think overall his defense has regressed every single year. And again, he's having a hard time beating now average to below average teams. We excuse the Detroit loss, we excuse the Philly loss, 2 top teams in the conference. But what about Atlanta, who, Desmond Ritter hasn't won a road game in his entire career. Penalties now. It's horrible. The team is not disciplined at all. The offense is not playing well, and he's not really holding them accountable. He just wants to push for a balance of run and pass, even if the runs are wasted downs. And even last week in the press conference, saying, what's the issue? We need to practice more. We've been practicing under your style of offense for a year and 6 games now, and we haven't had any progress. So what do you mean keep practicing? Our running backs suck, and they just don't want to kind of adjust. I don't think the run-pass balance is the best way right now, considering passing the ball is more effective. But even then, our passing isn't creative once we get inside the red zone. So there's a lot of issues that we need to clean up. Right now, the Falcons are 4-3. They're ahead of the division. We're second place, 3-3. We have a 1-3 record at home. We are 2-0 on the road. Next week on Thursday Night Football, short week, we go to Buffalo, who are not playing well, but it seems like anytime a team is struggling, they just have to play the Bucs and they end up beating us. So yeah, not looking good moving forward. 3-3, second place in the division, 1-1 in the division, a loss to the Falcons and a win over the Saints. We got to do better. But yeah, Todd Bowles, I think he's counting out his days right now, unless we go on a run like 5-6 wins. We started out 2-0 and we've won one of our last 3 games. So like last year, we started out 2-0 and then we started struggling. So something has to change, and I think he's on the hot seat unless we can make the playoffs, because now he has his offensive coordinator and it's fully his team. So yeah, Bucs Nation, comment down below what you think, and tough time to be a Bucs fan, reminding me of the alarm clock days. So yep, thank you all for tuning in, and as always, I am out.